The CEO smiled confidently as she stepped forward to welcome the visiting general. But before she could say a single word, he walked right past her, and headed straight toward a poor single dad wearing a dusty work jacket. Every executive standing at the entrance froze in disbelief. No one understood why one of the country's most respected military leaders had ignored the CEO on the biggest day in the company's history. The man he approached wasn't an executive or a government official. He was just a quiet delivery driver raising his young daughter alone after losing his wife years earlier. What nobody at Titan Industries knew was that this ordinary single dad, Marcus Reed, had once led missions so secret that even his military records couldn't tell the full story. Within the next hour, the CEO would realize she had judged the wrong man, and the future of her company would never be the same. Marcus Reed's life had changed forever 9 years earlier, the day he lost his wife. Since then, every decision he made revolved around one person, his daughter, Lily. He no longer woke up before sunrise because the military demanded it. He did it because Lily depended on him. Every morning followed the same routine. Marcus prepared breakfast, packed her school bag, and made sure she never left the house without a smile. Their conversations were short but meaningful, built on years of trust rather than endless words. After dropping Lily at school, Marcus drove his aging pickup to Titan Industries. His small restoration business had been hired to deliver specialized vehicle components requested by the company's maintenance department. It was just another delivery on his schedule, or so he believed. He had no idea that before the morning ended, he would come face to face with someone from his military past, and that meeting would quietly change the course of his life forever. Meanwhile, inside Titan Industries, CEO Olivia Carter was focused on only one thing. Months of preparation had led to this day. If General Holt approved the company's performance, Titan Industries would secure a government contract worth millions of dollars. Every employee had been instructed to keep the facility spotless, every vehicle had been inspected twice, and every executive knew exactly where to stand when the convoy arrived. As Olivia reviewed the final checklist, an old pickup truck rolled into the visitor parking lot. She glanced at it briefly and frowned. A man in a faded work jacket stepped out carrying a clipboard and delivery documents. To Olivia, he looked completely out of place among the government vehicles arriving that morning. Without knowing anything about him, she walked over confidently and stopped him before he reached the main entrance. That simple decision would become the biggest mistake she had made since founding the company. "Excuse me," Olivia called as Marcus approached the entrance. "Deliveries are handled through the service gate behind the building. This entrance is reserved for executives, government officials, and invited guests." Marcus stopped politely and met her eyes. Without showing anger or embarrassment, he handed her the delivery paperwork. "The shipment was pre-approved by your logistics department. I'm only here to deliver the parts." Olivia barely looked at the documents. Her attention stayed on his worn jacket and dusty work boots. "The rules apply to everyone," she replied firmly. "Please use the service entrance." A few executives standing nearby exchanged amused smiles. One even whispered, "Wrong place, wrong day." Marcus didn't argue. He simply nodded, folded the paperwork, and quietly walked toward the rear loading dock. As he disappeared around the building, Olivia turned back toward the entrance, convinced she had handled the situation perfectly. She had no idea that in less than 40 minutes, the visiting general would walk past every executive, just to shake hands with the very man she had dismissed. Marcus completed the delivery through the service entrance without saying another word. The loading supervisor greeted him with a smile, inspected the vehicle components, and signed the paperwork. "Everything looks perfect, Marcus," he said. Marcus thanked him, slipped the receipt into his jacket pocket, and headed back toward his pickup. Just as he reached the parking lot, the sound of approaching engines echoed across the facility. 3 black government SUVs rolled through the front gate in perfect formation before stopping near the main entrance. Employees instantly stood straighter. Executives adjusted their jackets. CEO Olivia Carter stepped forward with a confident smile, ready to welcome the distinguished guest. The rear door of the center SUV opened, and General Raymond Holt stepped out. His sharp eyes scanned the entire facility in only a few seconds. Then, without greeting the CEO or acknowledging the executives waiting for him, he noticed Marcus walking toward his truck. The general stopped. Without saying a word, he turned away from the reception line, and walked straight toward the quiet single dad. Every conversation in the parking lot came to an immediate stop. Olivia's smile slowly faded as General Holt walked past her without a single glance. His senior officers followed behind him in silence, clearly trusting whatever had caught the general's attention. Marcus heard the footsteps but didn't turn immediately. He assumed the convoy had arrived for the company's inspection, not for him. Captain Marcus Reed. The familiar voice made him stop. Marcus slowly turned around and, for the first time in years, found himself face to face with the commander who had once led him through some of the most dangerous missions of his military career. General Holt extended his hand. "It's been a long time, Captain." Marcus shook it firmly. "Good to see you again, General." The parking lot fell completely silent. Olivia stared in disbelief. The delivery driver she had dismissed only minutes earlier wasn't an ordinary businessman at all. He was a decorated former Army captain, and someone the general clearly respected. In that moment, she realized her first impression had been completely wrong. General Holt studied Marcus for a moment before giving a slight smile that only a handful of people had ever seen. "I never expected to find you making deliveries," he said. Marcus shrugged calmly. "Life changes, sir. I own a small restoration business now. It keeps food on the table and lets me spend time with my daughter." Holt nodded with quiet respect. "Still putting family first. That sounds like you." Then his expression became serious. "I could use your opinion while we inspect this facility." Marcus hesitated. "General, I'm only here to deliver parts. This is the CEO's inspection." "Exactly," Holt replied. "I don't need another presentation. I need someone who has actually worked with these vehicles in the real world." Without waiting for another answer, the general turned toward the building. "Walk with me, Captain." Marcus followed at his side. Behind them, CEO Olivia Carter and her executives exchanged stunned glances. The carefully planned inspection had changed completely. Instead of leading the general through the facility, they were now following the quiet single dad she had dismissed only minutes earlier. The inspection began inside Titan Industries' main restoration workshop. Rows of military vehicles stood in different stages of repair, each prepared carefully for the government's review. CEO Olivia Carter proudly explained the company's restoration process, confident that every detail had been perfected. General Holt listened politely, then stopped beside the first armored vehicle. Instead of looking at the engineers, he turned to Marcus. "What do you notice?" Marcus walked around the vehicle in silence. He examined the suspension, looked beneath the frame, and briefly rested his hand on the engine cover before stepping back. "The restoration work is impressive," he said calmly. "But this vehicle was heavily overloaded before it arrived here. The frame still carries stress marks that aren't dangerous today, but they'll become a problem after long-term use if they aren't reinforced." The workshop became silent. Olivia's lead engineer quickly checked the inspection report. After a few tense moments, he looked at the CEO and quietly admitted, "He's right. We completely overlooked that during the assessment." For the first time that morning, Everyone realized the quiet single dad wasn't simply experienced, he was seeing problems that trained specialists had missed. General Holt continued walking through the workshop, stopping at each restored vehicle. Every time a technical question came up, he looked at Marcus before anyone else. Marcus never rushed his answers. He carefully inspected each vehicle, explaining not only what had been repaired, but what could fail months later under real operating conditions. He pointed out hidden suspension fatigue, electrical grounding issues, and weak reinforcement points that weren't mentioned in the inspection reports. The government's review panel listened closely, writing notes after nearly every explanation. CEO Olivia Carter noticed something surprising. Her engineers understood the manuals perfectly, but Marcus understood the vehicles from years of real-world experience. His knowledge wasn't learned in a classroom, it had been earned through countless hours in the field. Turning to the CEO, General Holt spoke calmly. Technical manuals tell you how a vehicle is built. Experience tells you how it survives. Olivia remained silent. The man she had mistaken for an ordinary delivery driver was becoming the most valuable person in the entire inspection, and the future of Titan Industries now depended on the knowledge of a humble single dad. The inspection moved into the conference room, where the government's review panel began asking detailed technical questions. Olivia's senior engineers answered confidently, quoting manuals and official specifications. Their responses were accurate, but General Holt wasn't looking for textbook knowledge. He glanced toward Marcus. "Captain, what's the biggest mistake companies make when restoring these vehicles?" Marcus paused before answering. "They focus on what looks damaged," he said. "The real danger is often hidden where nobody thinks to check. A vehicle can leave the workshop looking brand new and still fail in the field because of stress, fatigue, or neglected electrical systems." One panel member leaned forward. "And how would you prevent that?" Marcus replied, "Every vehicle tells a story. If you study its history instead of just replacing broken parts, you'll repair the cause, not just the damage." The room fell silent. Several government officials nodded as they wrote down his recommendation. General Holt smiled slightly. "That's exactly the kind of thinking we need." For the first time that day, CEO Olivia realized the inspection was no longer about proving her company's capabilities, it was about learning from the quiet single dad whose experience couldn't be found in any manual. After the meeting ended, the review panel stepped outside for a short break while the executives remained inside discussing the inspection. Olivia quietly walked toward Marcus, who was standing alone near the workshop entrance. "I owe you an apology," she said sincerely. Marcus looked at her without resentment. "You judged me before you knew anything about me. I judged your jacket instead of your character." Marcus gave a small smile. "People make quick decisions. What matters is whether they're willing to correct them." Olivia lowered her eyes. "I embarrassed you in front of my staff this morning." "You didn't embarrass me," Marcus replied calmly. "You only showed everyone why first impressions can be dangerous." For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Olivia asked the question that had been on her mind all day. "Why didn't you tell me you were an army captain? Everything would have been different." Marcus shook his head. "If someone only treats me with respect after hearing my past, then they never respected me in the first place." Those words stayed with Olivia. In that single conversation, the CEO learned a lesson about leadership that no business school had ever taught her. The inspection resumed, but the atmosphere had completely changed. This time, the government review panel asked Marcus to remain with them throughout the technical evaluation. Every answer he gave was supported by years of hands-on experience rather than theory. Near the end of the review, General Holt closed his folder and looked directly at CEO Olivia Carter. "Your company has talented engineers," he said. But today I discovered something even more valuable. He turned toward Marcus. This man doesn't just repair vehicles. He understands how they behave when lives depend on them. The room was silent. Then the general made an unexpected recommendation. I want Marcus Reed's inspection methods included in your future restoration program. Every vehicle your company rebuilds should follow his assessment process. Olivia was genuinely surprised. General, are you recommending that we work with him? I am, Holt replied without hesitation. If you want this company to become the best, learn from people who have earned their knowledge through experience, not just certifications. For Marcus, it was never about recognition. As a single dad, he simply wanted to do honest work and return home to Lily. But before the day was over, the CEO had one more life-changing offer waiting for him. As the government convoy prepared to leave, General Holt shook Marcus's hand one final time. You've always had a talent for seeing what others overlook, he said. Don't let that gift go to waste. Marcus nodded respectfully. Thank you, sir. After the convoy disappeared through the front gate, CEO Olivia walked across the parking lot toward him once again. I'd like to discuss something before you leave, she said. Marcus listened quietly. I don't want today to end as just another inspection. I'd like to offer you a position as a technical advisor for Titan Industries. Your experience could help us improve every vehicle we restore. Marcus remained silent for a moment. I appreciate the offer, he replied, but my daughter comes first. I can't accept a role that keeps me away from her every day. Instead of looking disappointed, Olivia smiled. Then we'll build the role around your schedule. Family shouldn't be sacrificed for success. For the first time that day, Marcus looked genuinely surprised. Perhaps this wasn't just the beginning of a business partnership. It might become the start of a friendship built on mutual respect between a CEO and a hardworking single dad. That evening, Marcus arrived home just in time to pick up Lily from school. As always, she noticed the thoughtful look on her father's face before he said a single word. Something happened today, didn't it? She asked with a smile. Marcus laughed softly. You know me too well. Over dinner, he told her about meeting General Holt again and the unexpected offer from the CEO of Titan Industries. Lily listened carefully before asking, Are you going to accept it? I'm still thinking about it, Marcus admitted. A better job means a better future for us, but I don't want to miss the moments that matter most. Lily reached across the table and squeezed his hand. You've never missed them before, Dad. Whatever you decide, we'll figure it out together. Her words reminded Marcus why he had worked so hard all these years. Every early morning, every delivery, and every sacrifice had been for the little girl sitting across from him. The next morning, his phone rang. It was CEO Olivia Carter. I've prepared a new proposal, she said. I think you'll want to hear this one. The following afternoon, Marcus drove to Titan Industries after finishing his deliveries. This time, Olivia personally welcomed him at the main entrance with a warm handshake. Thank you for coming, she said. I wanted to make sure our first meeting ended very differently from our last. Inside the conference room, she slid a proposal across the table. You'll work as our senior technical advisor only 3 days a week, Olivia explained. The rest of your time stays with your restoration business and, most importantly, with Lily. Marcus looked through the documents carefully. There's one more thing, Olivia added. I don't just want you to inspect vehicles. I want you to train our engineers to think the way you do. Marcus smiled for the first time. If I accept, I have one condition. Olivia nodded. I'm listening. I want 2 apprenticeship positions every year for young people who never get opportunities. They deserve a real career, not just temporary jobs. Without hesitation, the CEO extended her hand. Deal. As they shook hands, neither of them realized that this partnership between a determined single dad and a visionary CEO would soon face its greatest challenge yet. Marcus officially joined Titan Industries a week later. Although he wasn't a full-time employee, everyone quickly noticed the difference his presence made. Instead of sitting behind a desk, he spent hours in the workshop, inspecting vehicles alongside the mechanics and patiently explaining why small details often prevented major failures. CEO Olivia frequently walked through the workshop, impressed by how naturally Marcus earned everyone's respect. He never acted like a hero or reminded anyone of his military background. He simply shared what he had learned through years of experience. One afternoon, while reviewing maintenance records, Marcus noticed something unusual. Several expensive vehicle components had disappeared from inventory, yet the paperwork showed they had never left the warehouse. He checked the records again. The numbers still didn't make sense. Quietly, he made copies of the reports instead of raising an alarm. Marcus had learned long ago that accusations without proof could destroy innocent people. As a single dad, he had always believed patience was stronger than anger. What he didn't know was that he had just uncovered the first clue to a secret that could threaten everything CEO Olivia Carter had worked so hard to build. Rather than confronting anyone, Marcus requested access to the warehouse's past inventory records. CEO Olivia approved the request without hesitation, trusting his instincts. For the next several days, Marcus quietly compared delivery logs, security records, and purchase orders. A strange pattern slowly emerged. High-value vehicle components were disappearing only after late-night maintenance shifts, and every missing item had been approved by the same department manager. Marcus refused to make assumptions. Instead, he documented every inconsistency and handed the evidence to Olivia in a private meeting. After reviewing the files, the CEO's expression turned serious. "If you're right," she said quietly, "someone inside my company has been stealing from us for months." Marcus nodded. "We need proof, not suspicion." Together, they decided to conduct a discreet internal investigation without alerting anyone. Hidden inventory markers were placed on several expensive parts, and additional security cameras were installed inside the warehouse. Neither of them realized that the person behind the theft had already begun watching Marcus, and was preparing to make sure the single dad stopped asking questions before the truth reached the CEO. The plan moved into action the following week. Without informing the staff, Marcus and CEO Olivia arranged a routine inventory audit while the newly installed cameras quietly recorded every movement inside the warehouse. Late one evening, Marcus stayed behind, pretending to finish paperwork in his office. Just before closing time, he noticed one of the department managers entering the storage area alone. Instead of confronting him, Marcus watched from a distance. The manager opened a secured cabinet, removed several marked vehicle components, and loaded them into an unmarked delivery van waiting behind the building. Marcus immediately called Olivia. Within minutes, the CEO arrived with the head of security. Together, they caught the suspect before the van could leave the property. When questioned, the manager couldn't explain why expensive company parts were hidden inside a private vehicle. The evidence was undeniable. As the security team escorted him away, Olivia looked at Marcus with relief. "You didn't just protect our inventory," she said. "You protected the future of this company." But Marcus wasn't celebrating. He had a feeling this man wasn't acting alone, and the real mastermind behind the theft was still somewhere inside Titan Industries. The investigation continued in complete secrecy. Over the next few days, Marcus and the security team traced the stolen parts through shipping records and surveillance footage. The evidence pointed to something far bigger than simple theft. Someone inside Titan Industries had been selling expensive vehicle components to an illegal supplier. CEO Olivia immediately contacted the company's legal department and local authorities, but Marcus asked her to wait one more day. If we move too soon, he explained, the people behind this will disappear. Olivia trusted his judgment. The next evening, another secret shipment was scheduled to leave the warehouse. This time, the police waited outside while Marcus and the security team monitored every entrance. As the suspects loaded the marked components into a truck, officers surrounded the vehicle before it could leave the property. Several employees were arrested on the spot, including the department manager who had organized the operation. Looking at the recovered parts, Olivia let out a deep breath. If you hadn't noticed those missing records, she said, this company could have lost millions. Marcus simply smiled. I was only doing my job. For the single dad, protecting people had never stopped when he left the military. News of the arrest spread quickly throughout Titan Industries. Employees who had once seen Marcus as nothing more than a delivery driver now understood the value of his experience and integrity. At a company-wide meeting, CEO Olivia stood before the entire staff. Today, she began, I want to admit something. On the morning we first met, I judged Marcus by his appearance instead of his character. That mistake taught me one of the greatest lessons of my career. She then invited Marcus to stand beside her. The room filled with applause. Olivia continued, this single dad didn't just help us improve our vehicles. He protected our company, our employees, and the trust our customers place in us every day. Marcus accepted the recognition with quiet humility. Later that afternoon, he left work early to pick up Lily from school, just as he always had. When she ran into his arms, nothing else seemed to matter. As they drove home together, Marcus smiled. No award or promotion could ever mean more than keeping his promise to always be there for his daughter. For him, that was the greatest success of all. A few weeks later, Titan Industries officially received the government contract. The announcement was celebrated across the company, but CEO Olivia made it clear that the success belonged to everyone who had earned it through honesty and hard work. That evening, she hosted a small appreciation ceremony and invited Marcus and Lily as special guests. Lily looked around the beautifully decorated hall with wide eyes. She had never imagined that one ordinary delivery could lead to such an unforgettable day. When Olivia stepped onto the stage, she smiled at Marcus. Some people change a company with money, she said. Others change it with character. Marcus Reed gave us something far more valuable than technical knowledge, he reminded us what integrity looks like. She then presented him with the company's Award of Excellence. The audience rose for a standing ovation. Marcus accepted the award, but before returning to his seat, he looked at Lily. This belongs to both of us, he said. Everything I've achieved started with the promise I made to always be the best dad I could be. Lily hugged him tightly as the room applauded once again, leaving even the CEO visibly emotional. Life soon returned to its normal rhythm, but Titan Industries was no longer the same company. Under CEO Olivia Carter's leadership, a new culture began to grow, one built on respect instead of appearances. Inspired by Marcus's example, she introduced an apprenticeship program for young people who wanted to learn skilled trades but lacked opportunities. True to his promise, Marcus personally trained every apprentice. He didn't just teach them how to repair vehicles, he taught them patience, discipline, and responsibility. Anyone can replace a broken part, he often said. A true professional finds the reason it failed. The apprentices admired him, not because of his military past, but because he treated everyone with kindness and respect. One afternoon, Olivia quietly watched Marcus helping a nervous apprentice solve a difficult problem instead of doing the work himself. She smiled. Hiring a humble single dad hadn't simply improved the company. It had changed the way people worked together. For the first time since founding Titan Industries, the CEO realized that the company's greatest asset had never been its machines. It was its people. Several months later, Titan Industries reported its strongest year since the company was founded. The government contract had opened new opportunities, new jobs, and a brighter future for everyone. During a board meeting, the directors unanimously approved a new position created specifically for Marcus. When CEO Olivia invited him into her office, she handed him a sealed envelope. "I hope you'll accept this," she said. Marcus opened it and smiled with surprise. The company was offering him the role of Director of Technical Operations, with flexible hours so he could continue raising Lily without sacrificing family time. Marcus looked up. "You actually remembered what mattered most to me." Olivia smiled. "You taught me that success means nothing if it costs the people we love." After a brief pause, Marcus accepted the offer. That evening, he shared the news with Lily over dinner. She wrapped her arms around him and whispered, "Mom would be so proud of you, Dad." Marcus looked at the family photo on the shelf and smiled quietly. Every sacrifice the single dad had made was finally leading to the future he had always dreamed of, for both himself and his daughter. One afternoon, Marcus received an unexpected call from Lily's school. His heart raced as he drove there, worried something had happened. Instead, he found the school auditorium filled with parents, teachers, and students. The principal smiled as Marcus walked in. "Congratulations," she said. "Lily's essay has been selected as this year's winner." A few moments later, Lily stepped onto the stage and looked confidently at the audience. "My hero isn't someone famous," she began. "He's my dad. He taught me that real strength isn't about wearing a uniform or having an important title. It's about keeping your promises, helping others, and doing the right thing even when nobody is watching." Marcus struggled to hold back his emotions. Among the guests sat CEO Olivia Carter, who had quietly accepted the school's invitation after learning about the ceremony. When the applause ended, she walked over to Marcus. "You've accomplished something no business award can measure," she said. "You've raised an incredible daughter." Marcus smiled at Lily. In that moment, the proud single dad realized his greatest achievement had never been saving a company. It had always been raising his daughter to become a kind and honest person. Years later, people at Titan Industries still remembered the day General Holt ignored the welcoming committee and walked straight toward a quiet delivery driver. New employees often thought the story had been exaggerated until they met Marcus Reed themselves. Despite his success, Marcus never forgot where he came from. He still greeted every mechanic by name, still believed that respect had to be earned through actions, and still made it home every evening for dinner with Lily. CEO Olivia Carter often shared one lesson with new managers. "The biggest mistake I ever made was judging a person before learning their story," she would say. "The best decision I ever made was correcting that mistake." The apprenticeship program continued to grow, giving dozens of young people the opportunity to build honest careers. Many of them credited Marcus for changing their lives. One evening, as the sun set outside their home, Lily looked at her father and smiled. "You always told me that kindness is stronger than pride." Marcus nodded. "And never forget," he replied, "people may notice your clothes before they notice your character, but in the end, your character is the only thing they'll truly remember." Sometimes, one act of respect can change a company, one family, and countless lives forever. The end.